All right, folks, I thought we would talk about whether one should select the i7-9700F or the i5-9600K. So this is one of those things where you really have to think about it because and do your research. Now, obviously, the price of the 9600K is considerably less than a 9700F. You can save $100. Sometimes even more. If you were to buy the 9600KF, right now, I believe that you could actually save $120. So that's very enticing. Now, if we look at the rankings of these two processors in the userbenchmark.com, you'll see that they list the i5 ahead of the i7. So this is makes you wonder: is that such a great thing? Is it not? And you also have to realize when you're looking at this that a lot of people are overclocking these processors, these i5 9600Ks. So that kind of messes up the numbers a little. If you have no interest in overclocking, then you probably are not going to achieve the scores that they're getting. You may not be where it has worst bench, but you'll be, somewhere between worst bench and best bench. Now, gaming scores, they show these identical at 94. Desktop score, they are nearly the same. Workstation, the i7 is considerably higher. So there are certain multi-core tasking things out there that the i7 will definitely do better than the i5. And it's kind of up to you to understand whether the software or the game that you want to run is more of a single core or a multi-core. Now, if the majority of the stuff that you're running is going to be multi-core, then you're probably going to want to go with the i7. If most of the things you're doing happen to really be only good with single core, then you're probably better off going with the i5. So that's dealing with programs. Now there's another aspect to look at this. Here's all the scores, just so you can see them, how they scored it out. And obviously, according to this, the i7 eventually becomes a better processor for multi-core. So their i5 has the lead in the single core, double core, and then quad core, the i7 takes over. And from there, it never looks back. Um, Pretty much destroys it by the time you get to the 6 core scores. Now, 64 core scores, that is. So there's more to this than just looking at user benchmark. You also have to kind of understand what kind of graphics card you want to run. Now, if you're just going to basically go with a mediocre average card, then either one of these processors is going to be good for you. And when I say mediocre, something less than an RTX 2060. When you start to go above that, that's when you really have to start looking at the i7 more. Because then when you start worrying about bottleneck calculating. So, if your end state is I want a RTX 2080 Super, there is only one real choice between these two. And that's when you have to start looking at bottleneck calculators. So I ran one up here. We'll look at the i5 first, okay? So i5 9600KF is the one I actually put in here. RTX 2080 Super, 17%. So, um, you know, you're going to see some issues with this. They basically say your processor's too weak for this card. Now, I currently have an i3 9350KF that I run with the RTX 2070 Super, and I see problems. You always see the processor at 100% when you're gaming. and the graphics card is, just doing its thing. It's not really being uh, used to its fullest potential. Now, we do the i7 9700F RTX 2080 Super again. Less than 1%. So, according to this, they will work great together. All right. So, to answer the question, which one you should go with, it obviously depends. And hopefully, you got something out of this. Depending on what graphics card you're going to get, you may find that the i5 is the better choice. Depending on if you go all out, RTX 2080 Super, Ti, probably even the 2070 Super, the i7 is the way to go. All right, that's going to do it for this one, folks. Keep an eye out for my Ryzen 5 3600X versus the Ryzen 8 3800X. We're going to do basically the same thing with that one.